Hey, everybody. Welcome to Wow Wednesday, where we share words of wisdom. Today, we're going to be talking about stop wasting your time with people who don't want to change. Let me say that again. Stop wasting your time with people who don't want to change. I know that's kind of hard to accept, and sometimes it may seem like that's a bit harsh. But when you think about it, if someone has made up their mind that they're going to do something or they're not going to do something, then there's no other way of you convincing them. You can give all kind of scenario. You can say what I did in that situation and how it turned out, and how if I would have done this differently, then this would have happened. If they have set in their mind that I'm not going to change my stand, I'm not going to change my vote, I'm not going to change my decision, I'm not going to change how I view this and look at this, there is no way of you convincing them. And many times, we as people, we love to relate to people, we love to try to make some kind of connections with people. And that power of persuasion is probably somewhere in the back of our minds, because we want to try to convince or persuade someone to adopt our views or our ideas, or to accept our rationale or our form of thinking. And sometimes it works. But sometimes you come across people that are just stuck in their thoughts, they're stuck in their ways, they're stuck in their ideas, and they are not going to change. Women, let me talk to you guys first. I know a lot of women who have gone through this. I have gone through this in my season of relationships and trying to search for someone who, I wanted to spend, rest of my life with, quote unquote. Little did I know I was doing things the wrong way. But anyway, trying to convince someone to stay with me, or trying to convince a guy to let's keep working on this, let's work this out, let's do this, let's do that, trying to find the solutions, and they're stuck in their mind, and they're not wanting to change. And then you see the patterns of behavior that stem from a person, and you're looking at them and you're spending time with them. So on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis, you're seeing the same patterns of behavior that haven't changed, no matter what you said, no matter what you've done, no matter how you relate the message, what you've done to change some things about yourself to see if they could possibly change. And it does not happen. And so you're stuck with something. Either you're going to continue to stay in it, and you're going to continue to deal with the fact that this is what it is, and I'm just going to have to embrace this, or am I going to cut my ties and just leave and say, look, I have done everything that I could do for this situation. I have said everything that I could say. Now it's no longer on me. I don't have to carry this burden anymore, because guess what? God can send the next person that will help them along the way. Because you may have been the one to maybe try to plant the seed, but the seed might not have been planted deep enough. So somebody may have to come in behind you and try to push the seed on down further into the soil so that it can get where it needs to go. So then that next person that comes in line to minister or encourage that person to make some changes in their life, they'll be the ones to water the seed, and then God will do that increase. He will do what he needs to do. But we put too much pressure on ourselves trying to change people, trying to convince people that you need to do it this way, you need to think this way, you need to be this way. Even on down to your children, you know men, same way. You're trying to convince a woman how to be a housewife, or how to be this, or how to be that, or how to do this and how to do that. I'm just making an example. And you trying to change this woman to where what you want her to be, because you are so convinced that this is the one for you. Now, God gives us those classical intuitions, those signs, those indicators that let us know, look, we're on a detour path, we're on a dead end street. We don't need to go here because we know where it will lead us. It's leading us to a dead end. So who wants to go to the dead end? You already know that there's a dead end at the end of this road. So why are you still driving down this road? Because you're gonna end up having to turn back around. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to go through all that. So guess what? You already have to factor in these things when you are dealing with people. You're dealing with relationships with the co-workers. You're dealing with relationships with your family. You're dealing with relationship with your children. You're dealing with, all kinds of different types of relationships with different people. And all of these people may not be convinced that what you're saying is what they should even be deciding to be encouraged to do. They may not even consider it. Like, okay, that was your situation, and and what? I mean, that happened to you. That it's not like it's gonna happen to me. And so some people just take it like that. They have that mindset. Like, I mean, yeah, that happened to you, but don't say it's gonna happen to me. You know, just say it happened to you. But you can't waste your time with individuals. You do what you can, because what you're going to end up doing is stressing yourself out. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to be irritated. You're going to be going through these highs and lows, and back and forth, and double-mindedness, and should I go? Should I stay? Okay, I'm going to stay for a couple of more months and see if anything change. Nothing's going to change. And so you still there. You giving them all your time. You see what I'm saying? Because you going around, and you kind of tipping the scale back and forth. You don't know what you're doing. You indecisive, you're clueless, and you just back and forth with it. And you're allowing them to pull you back and forth into this mind game, into this seesaw event. And we just can't afford to waste our time. Not in this hour, not in this season. And I know all of us have been here. We have been here where we have wasted our time with people who don't want to change. There is something in you. I'm like this. My auntie, when she ministered to me as a young girl, I knew at that time I didn't want to change. But you know what? She planted some seeds in me. And when she planted those seeds in me, I went back out there. I listened to her. I gave her all, I listened, but I didn't change. I went out there and was more just out there, deeper than I was when we had that conversation. And she pulled me in and told me some things and what I need to do with my life. I wasn't considering that. I wasn't thinking about that at the time. So I went on back out there, did my little stuff, and got hurt, got abused, got rejected, and all that, had to deal with all of that backlash. And then, somebody else had to come in and just kind of water that seed that was planted. And that person came through a church. I went to a church. Sometimes, you be looking for answers and stuff. So I went to a church, and I was very encouraged and uplifted, and so I had to cross paths with my auntie again. And when she ministered to me that second time, I was at that point of, I need to make a change. You feel what I'm saying? But see, I wasn't ready to make the change initially. And so in essence, she really, I wouldn't say she wasted her time, but I had to come back around. You see what I'm saying? I had to go out there and do some searching, and I had to go bump my head a few times, and then I came back across her path. You see what I'm saying? And so it was a God thing, because at that moment, I was really needing to hear God. I was really needing to hear some advice from my aunt. And she gave it to me. And you know what? I did make a change. I made a change. I contemplated on that thing. It was bubbling up on the inside of me. And I decided to go on ahead and choose a different path. The path that she told me I needed to take. And I did it. And so sometimes with people, you have to be that way. You have to be versatile enough. You have to be open enough to just let them go, and not in a sense of just giving up on them. But your time, I'm just talking about time right now. Your time is valuable. Your time means something. When you're giving someone your time, the Bible talks about don't cast your pearls before swine. You can do so much, but at some point, it gets to the point where people are just trampling over what you're doing, and you can't allow them to do that. So guess what you have to do? You got to let them go. You got to let them bump their heads. You got to let them do that type stuff. Let them go out there. And then you know what? They'll come back if cross your path, if that's God's will for them to do so. And they may cross somebody else's path that may finish the job. You may have started something. You probably you didn't see the manifestation of anything occurring in their life. But sometimes we have to step away and then evaluate from the outside, because then that person could have evolved over a period of time without you having your hands in it, but you played a little part in it. But then you also have to know when it's time to let it go, when it's time to let go and let God, because you've done everything that you can do. You pray over your children, you minister to them, you love them, you encourage them, but you keep going back and forth and keep telling them this and telling them that. I didn't want to listen to my parents. When my parents, they kept in my ear about stuff, I didn't want to listen to it. Matter of fact, it pushed me further and further away. And so sometimes you got to look at those things, even though you plant those seeds. There has to be, you got to give that seed time to develop, time to grow. It may not be your hands that will grow that seed, but you planted the seed. So you will get your reward. You will get what is due you, but you have to live with the fact, and you have to be comfortable enough to say, look, I've done all I can do. I've invested as much as I can invest, and I'm just gonna let this thing go. I'm gonna let God handle this. I'm gonna let somebody else pick up the torch and then see where it's going to lead, where it's going to go from here. Because I just can't invest any more time, because sometimes it's so stressful on you. You get worried, and some people have developed all kind of illnesses behind folk because they keep holding on to them, trying to convince them to change, and you still in their life, and you still letting them pull you and weigh you down with what's happening with them. You got to release those burdens. And who do we give them to? We give them to God. He know how to handle those burdens. He know how to take care of all of that. And so they may come back around, like I said, then they may not come back around. And then, the next time you see them, they may be in a different place, and they may be grounded and rooted in what it is that you have planted and sold into them. They may not have wanted to hear it from you at the time. It's okay. Let them go. Let them go. Sometimes that's necessary, especially with our children. It's necessary to just, you've done everything that you knew to do. Is right. Now, I'm a firm believer in that, because my parents did the same. I turned out well. You see what I'm saying? My siblings turned out well, And so I know that from experience, that even though in my mama and my daddy's house, I didn't always follow the rules, and I didn't always want to go. I went against the grain a lot of times. I felt like I was the most rebellious in my family. And so to see that I made some changes in my life, and I'm in my word. I love the Lord. I serve the Lord, and I have a family. I have a husband. All of that. I'm looking at that. And I'm like, wow, God. But I often reflect back on the teachings that came out of my household. I didn't listen to them at the time when I was going out there doing everything I wanted to do, messing around with all these no good guys that didn't have my best interest at heart. My dad told me about it all the time. He even tried to stop me. I had some friends that tried to encourage me. They know who they are. That tried to tell me, look, he's no good. he's toxic, this, that, and the other. I didn't listen. I had to go through the process. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to see it for yourself. You got to let people see it for themselves, and then they will be convinced that, hey, they were right. Hey, I learned it because even though they told me, I actually experienced it myself. So yeah, I can relate now. I should have just stopped while I was ahead, stopped while I had the information, but I went on ahead and bought sense. I had to buy that, you know. And so that's our Wild Wednesday for today. Take that. Stop wasting your time with people who don't want to change. Now you know when it's time to let go of something. Sometimes you have to work with people, but there are times when you know it's time to let go. It's time to let go. It's time to stop, because you see that the more you do, the less is happening, and your time that you're spending, you exhausting yourself. You know when you get to that point that it's time to let that go. You feel what I'm saying? So all situations are different. But at that moment when I'm giving too much time, and sometimes we care too much. We care so much until it just bleeds over into our health. It bleeds over into time with our families, time with people that we need to spend time with, and it affects us. So we don't want it to get to that point. We want to realize when it's time to just cut it. Let it go. Let it go. Let God deal with them. Let that situation resolve itself. And it will. And it will. It may come back around to you. But just know your position. And consult God about these matters, because sometimes it ain't for you to bear. It's not for you to even carry. Because God wants our burdens anyway. I pray a lot for people. I love to encourage and I love to build up people. And sometimes I've had situations where people will just invade my space with their what is going on in their life. And at the time, I may have had time, and I give them the space to do that. But then sometimes it can be overbearing to the point where I just got off work. I got my kids here. I got my husband pulling on me over here, and I'm trying to do everything. And then I got to be at a place where I'm at peace, and I'm trying to calm down and trying to get into a zone. And then I'm having to do, wrestle with, whatever's happening on your end, this, that, the other. So a lot of times I pray. I pray for people more so than I do a lot of communication over phone. I do a lot of praying because I know prayer answers. Prayer is the answer. Prayer will answer all things. And sometimes we get to talking and we'll be on the phone for hours and hours at a time, and we'll not have accomplished anything. But then when I can get on my knees and say a quick 5-10 minute prayer and just pray the house down, and then God just moves just like that. So you gotta know when to not be wasting your time and not allow people to waste your time, because they'll pull you in. But then you gotta know when to cut things off. Sometimes I'm so tired in some situations where if I'm getting off work or something, I just don't have that energy or drive to pull myself together to do, like ministry in that capacity, like over the phone type thing. And so what I would do, I'll text, or I'll audio a prayer. I'll do, those types of things. And that's still a part of ministering and encouraging someone along the way, And so you just have to find what works for you, what can work for you, and realizing that on both ends we have to assess and know that, look, her time's valuable, his time's valuable, my time's valuable, their time's valuable, and just go with it that way. But I'm just going to cut off right here, you all. But I just want to share that with you. Stop wasting your time with people who don't want to change. And like I said, there's a lot of different scenarios, but take that into consideration, because we've all crossed that road. We've all known someone whom we've had to minister or talk to concerning some situations, and things have happened in this direction. So you just be encouraged. I love you. God loves you more. We all in this together, and we're going to continue to encourage one another. All right, you all. I'll see you next time for another Wild Wednesday. Bye bye.